In the dim light of a hidden chamber, the scent of burning wax and ancient wood filled the air. The flicker of candles cast restless shadows on the stone walls, dancing like silent witnesses to the historic moment unfolding. Simón Bolívar stood motionless at the center of a circle, his youthful face illuminated by the golden glow of the flames. Around him, men dressed in long, ceremonial robes formed a semicircle, their faces obscured by the shadows of deep hoods. The atmosphere was thick with secrecy, their low whispers carrying an air of sacred purpose. One of the robed figures stepped forward, holding an ancient scroll adorned with symbols of compasses, squares, and an all-seeing eye. "Do you swear," the figure began, his voice deep and deliberate, "to protect and uphold the principles of liberty, equality, and fraternity, even at the cost of your life?" Bolívar raised his right hand. His gaze, steady but solemn, reflected both the gravity of the oath and the dreams of a revolutionary. "I swear," he said, his voice unwavering, though his heartbeat echoed in his chest like a drumbeat. As he finished the oath, another figure approached, carrying a ceremonial apron embroidered with intricate gold designs. Bolívar knelt, and the apron was tied around his waist. The room fell silent, the weight of the moment palpable. The symbols on the apron glinted in the candlelight, a compass representing wisdom, a square for moral integrity, and the all-seeing eye, a reminder of the universal truths Bolívar had sworn to protect. A soft applause rippled through the room, a muted gesture of welcome into the brotherhood. Bolívar rose to his feet, now a part of something far larger than himself, a network of ideals and alliances that would guide his mission to free Latin America from the chains of colonial rule. The light flickered once more, casting Bolívar's shadow against the ancient walls, an omen of the revolutionary path he was about to walk. Simón Bolívar was born into privilege, yet his life was shaped by loss and rebellion. Growing up in Caracas in 1783, Bolívar was part of a wealthy Creole family that enjoyed immense social standing. But this comfort was short-lived. By the age of 9, Bolívar had lost both parents, leaving him in the care of guardians and tutors who would shape his worldview. Among these mentors was Simón Rodríguez, an eccentric but brilliant thinker. Rodríguez introduced Bolívar to the ideals of the Enlightenment, exposing him to the works of Rousseau, Montesquieu, and Voltaire. He planted the first seeds of revolution, urging Bolívar to see beyond the privileges of his class and recognize the oppression of the Spanish colonial system. As a teenager, Bolívar left Venezuela and traveled to Europe, where his ideals would take root. In Spain, he witnessed the hollow decadence of the monarchy, a stark contrast to the Enlightenment ideals he had learned. But it was in France that Bolívar found himself transformed. The streets of Paris were alive with revolutionary fervor, a city rebuilding itself in the aftermath of the French Revolution. Bolívar walked those streets, absorbing the cries for liberty and equality that echoed through the air. It was during these travels that Bolívar encountered Freemasonry, though the exact location of his initiation remains debated. Some claim he joined in Cádiz, Spain, a hub for exiled revolutionaries, while others point to Paris. Freemasonry, with its rituals and symbols, promised more than camaraderie. It was a philosophy rooted in the same ideals Bolívar had embraced: liberty, equality, fraternity. These were not just words but guiding principles for a new world order. In 1803, Bolívar experienced a profound moment of personal revelation. Standing on Monte Sacro in Rome, he vowed to dedicate his life to freeing Latin America from Spanish rule. This vow, inspired by the ideals of Freemasonry, became Bolívar's life mission. He returned to Venezuela a changed man, armed with the conviction that liberty was not a gift to be given, but a right to be claimed. By the time Simón Bolívar returned to Venezuela, he was no longer the privileged aristocrat of his youth. He was a man with a mission. But Bolívar knew that his revolutionary dream could not succeed alone. To dismantle the centuries-old grip of the Spanish Empire, Bolívar needed allies, resources, and strategies. He found them in the secretive network of Freemasonry. Freemasonry in the early 19th century was far more than a fraternal organization. It was a powerful underground network that crossed borders and united revolutionaries from Europe to the Americas. Bolívar's initiation into this clandestine brotherhood opened doors to a world of encrypted messages, covert meetings, and hidden alliances. One of Bolívar's most important connections was Francisco de Miranda, a fellow Venezuelan and a seasoned revolutionary. Miranda had already fought in the American Revolution, witnessed the storming of the Bastille in Paris, and dreamed of liberating Latin America. He was a known Mason and played a pivotal role in introducing Bolívar to the fraternity's inner workings. In the Spanish port city of Cádiz, a hub for exiled intellectuals and revolutionaries, Bolívar and Miranda shared ideas that would later shape the fight for Venezuelan independence. In dimly lit taverns and rented chambers, they discussed grand strategies and ideological blueprints. Freemasonry provided them with more than inspiration. It gave them access to financial support, military resources, and a global network of like-minded individuals. Freemasonry's influence went beyond camaraderie. Members used coded messages to communicate, disguising their plans from colonial authorities. Ships carrying weapons often bore secret Masonic symbols, signaling safe passage to allies across the Atlantic. Even battlefield strategies were often influenced by the principles of liberty, equality, and fraternity. But the network was not without its tensions. Bolívar and Miranda, though united by their Masonic ties, had sharp disagreements. Miranda believed in a more cautious approach, while Bolívar was relentless, driven by the urgency of liberation. Their ideological clash came to a head when Bolívar, in a controversial move, had Miranda arrested for surrendering to Spanish forces. Despite this betrayal, Bolívar continued to rely on the Masonic network. It was through these secretive connections that he secured the resources to launch his admirable campaign in 1813, reclaiming much of Venezuela from Spanish control. The legacy of Freemasonry and Bolívar's revolution remains shrouded in mystery. While many of its contributions were intentionally hidden, they left traces in the symbols, strategies, and alliances that defined Bolívar's fight for independence. The road to revolution was steep and perilous, but Simón Bolívar's resolve was unshakable. After his initiation into Freemasonry and years of planning, Bolívar launched his admirable campaign in 1813. This bold military offensive was not just a battle for territory but a declaration of freedom, one that would echo across the continent. Bolívar's proclamation of war to the death was as fiery as it was symbolic. Standing before his troops in Mérida, Venezuela, Bolívar promised liberation for those who embraced the revolution and utter destruction for anyone who sided with the Spanish crown. His words burned with passion, invoking the principles of Freemasonry: liberty, equality, and fraternity. As the campaign progressed, Bolívar's forces achieved one victory after another, reclaiming cities and rallying people to the cause. His strategy was bold and relentless, relying on swift movements and surprise attacks. Bolívar himself was a constant presence on the battlefield, leading his troops through dense jungles and across treacherous mountain passes. But Bolívar's revolution was not won by force alone. His speeches inspired loyalty, and his vision of a free Latin America gave people hope. To his soldiers, he was more than a commander. He was a liberator. To his enemies, he was a figure of fear, a man whose resolve could not be broken. The culmination of Bolívar's efforts came at the Battle of Carabobo in 1821. This decisive clash secured Venezuela's independence and solidified Bolívar's status as a revolutionary icon. On that day, the battlefield was a sea of chaos, clashing swords, booming cannons, and the cries of soldiers filled the air. Bolívar led his troops from the front, his banner flying high as a symbol of victory. While the details of the battle are well documented, the subtle influence of Freemasonry remains a hidden layer of the story. Some accounts suggest that Masonic symbols adorned Bolívar's uniform and the banners of his army. These symbols, though understated, represented the ideals that fueled the revolution. Yet Bolívar's mission was far from over. He dreamed of a united Latin America, a Gran Colombia, that would embody the principles of liberty and fraternity. But as he moved forward, Bolívar faced new challenges: political infighting, regional rivalries, and the daunting task of unifying a fragmented continent. Through it all, Bolívar remained guided by the ideals that had shaped his journey. His revolution was not just a fight for independence, it was a quest to build a new society, one where freedom and equality would prevail. The revolution was over, but Simón Bolívar's legacy was just beginning. After securing independence for Venezuela and much of Latin America, Bolívar's dream of a united continent, Gran Colombia, remained unfulfilled. His vision of a federation built on liberty and fraternity slowly unraveled due to political infighting, regional rivalries, and the sheer complexity of uniting diverse nations. Yet Bolívar's influence extended far beyond his lifetime, and his connection to Freemasonry remains one of the most intriguing aspects of his story. In the years following Bolívar's death in 1830, efforts were made to downplay his ties to Freemasonry. The Catholic Church, which held significant power in the newly independent nations, often viewed Freemasonry as heretical and dangerous. As a result, Masonic symbols and references were quietly erased from public depictions of Bolívar's life. Monuments and official portraits focused on his military achievements, leaving his involvement with the secretive fraternity to linger in the shadows of history. Yet, traces of Freemasonry's influence can still be found. Historical accounts suggest that Bolívar's uniforms and banners occasionally bore subtle Masonic symbols, such as the compass and square. A ceremonial apron believed to have belonged to Bolívar was discovered in a private collection, richly embroidered with the golden symbols of Freemasonry. These relics, though rare, serve as a reminder of the hidden layers of Bolívar's revolutionary mission. Even Bolívar's speeches echoed the ideals of Freemasonry, with references to universal brotherhood, equality, and moral integrity. His actions, too, were guided by these principles: his unwavering commitment to liberty, his belief in the potential of a united Latin America, and his refusal to bow to tyranny, all aligned with the values of the fraternity. Today, Bolívar's legacy continues to inspire debate and fascination. Was his connection to Freemasonry simply a reflection of the Enlightenment ideals of his time, or was it a deeper, more deliberate influence? The truth remains elusive, hidden behind layers of historical revision and secrecy. As statues of Bolívar stand tall in city squares across Latin America, they remind us not only of his victories, but also of the mysteries that shaped his journey. Bolívar was more than a liberator. He was a man of conviction, driven by ideals that transcended his time. And while the details of his Masonic connections may never be fully revealed, their impact on his life and legacy is undeniable. Simón Bolívar's life was a paradox: a man born into privilege who fought for the oppressed, a general who craved unity, yet saw his dream of Gran Colombia shattered by division. Yet even as Bolívar's life ended in heartbreak and exile, his legacy only grew stronger. Across Latin America, his name became synonymous with liberation, a symbol of resistance against tyranny. But Bolívar was more than a military hero. He was a visionary. His dream of a united Latin America, though unrealized, was rooted in ideals that transcended his era. Liberty, equality, fraternity. These were not just slogans to Bolívar, they were principles worth living and dying for. And while much of his story is well known, the hidden elements of his life, particularly his ties to Freemasonry, continue to intrigue and inspire. Freemasonry, with its rituals, symbols, and clandestine network, played a subtle but significant role in Bolivar's journey. It gave him access to allies, resources, and strategies that would have been impossible to gather alone. It shaped his vision of a society built on moral integrity and universal brotherhood. But the full extent of its influence remains shrouded in mystery. What drove Bolivar? Was it the Enlightenment ideals he absorbed in Europe? The lessons of his mentor, Simón Rodriguez? Or was it the secretive power of Freemasonry, a brotherhood that connected him to a global network of revolutionaries? The answer may lie somewhere in the interplay of all three, a convergence of ideology, mentorship, and strategy that created the man we now call El Libertador. Today, Bolivar's statues rise above city squares, and his name is etched into the fabric of nations. Yet, behind the public monuments lies the shadow of the man himself, a figure shaped by loss, ambition, and secrecy. His story, like the revolution he led, is one of complexity and contradiction, a narrative that invites reflection and debate. As we uncover the hidden layers of Bolivar's life, we're reminded that history is never fully written. Bolivar's journey from privileged aristocrat to revolutionary liberator is a testament to the power of conviction, the influence of ideas, and the enduring allure of mystery. His story is not just a tale of the past. It is a call to look deeper, question more, and find inspiration in the enigmatic figures who shaped our world. Thank you for uncovering this hidden chapter of Latin American history with us. Simón Bolívar's story is more than just a tale of revolution. It's a reminder of the power of conviction, the influence of ideas, and the mysteries that shape our world. If you enjoyed this story and want to explore more untold histories, don't forget to like this video, share it with others, and subscribe to our channel, Hidden Histories of Latin America. Together, we can keep these stories alive. See you in the next journey through the past.